My name's Niall Provan, and I work for the Forth Rivers Trust. My colleague Jonathan isn't going to be joining me today, but I've kept in his aspects of the presentation just to kind of give a different perspective on different paths into the fisheries management industry. So what is wild fisheries management? So most people think wild fisheries management is the management of fish or farmed fish, so it can sometimes get confused with aquaculture and things like that, but it's not always the case. So wild fisheries management is the management of rivers and wild fish populations to conserve, protect and enhance them. So this can range for a variety of different things. So habitat management, surveying fish populations, surveying rivers, kind of monitoring the health of rivers, monitoring for pollution, that kind of thing. Maintaining fish passages, so that's a big focus of what we do. Maintaining fish passages and also the removal of fish barriers, so old kind of industrial weirs and things like that that are affecting the migratory paths of Atlantic salmon and things like that. So that's a big push on what we do. Boots on the ground kind of river restoration projects, and then also other things like bailiffing, deterring poachers, and then working with gillies and that kind of thing as well. So also from the photos below, you can see there's a little bit of specialisation you can do as well. So it's not just about the broad things. So my colleague Jack there, he's really into eels, so he kind of specialises in eels and the kind of intricacies of working with them. So just a bit of an overview of our organisations. So there's the Forth Rivers Trust, who I work for, but they're also kind of partnered in a sense with the District Salmon Fishery Board. So the board has a statutory remit to enforce fishery legislation, basically to prevent poaching of Atlantic salmon and things like that, and also to prevent kind of illegal works on rivers. Whereas the trust is mainly just kind of conservation based, or like aquatic conservation. So there's generally a board and a trust for every kind of main river catchment in Scotland. So there's 26 trusts, and then there's more boards than there are rivers trusts. But just going on to our different journeys. So my colleague Jonathan, he left school in 4th year and he studied countryside management. So that's quite a theme. A lot of people who've joined the trust haven't went down any particular, fisheries or fish or even aquatic conservation kind of centric qualification route. I think at least 4 or 5 people in the trust, including myself, started out studying countryside management at SRUC, and then a lot of others have studied slightly different courses at SRUC as well. So he then got his degree. He then did a lot of relevant volunteering with different organisations. So that's really important. I feel like that's probably, after having got that kind of general interest and experience in the conservation industry, volunteering with a local rivers trust or with a board, salmon fishery board as well, is probably the best way to kind of bring up your more specific skills for fisheries management and get yourself into that industry. So my journey, as I say, I studied countryside management. I then went on to do a modern apprenticeship in environmental conservation with Canada Landscape Partnership. So with them, I was able to do quite a lot of broad volunteering with Nature Scot and Forestry and Land Scotland. But I was also able to work with the trust, which then kind of got my foot in the door for getting my job that I have just now. So I actually worked with them on a river restoration project, doing some tree planting in the Loch Lomond Trosses National Park. So yeah, and then that networking that I'd done already, working with the trust and meeting members of the trust, and also the Lantra Awards that I managed to win this year, put me in really great stead for applying for a role with the trust. So just in terms of roles within the trust and the board as well. So the water bailiff, as I said, they kind of enforce the statutory remit of the board. So just basically to prevent poaching. The biologists who work with the trust, they kind of work hand in hand with the aquatic ecologists. So that's all about monitoring fish populations, river health, things like pollution, farm runoff, all these kind of things, and how they're affecting rivers. And then this is all kind of used to create data and allow us to kind of target which rivers are needing work, which rivers are requiring tree planting or green bank protection and in-river restoration. So that kind of goes hand in hand with project officer, or project support officer, which is my role. So I work under a river restoration specialist who takes kind of a management position over different projects. So just to give you a brief idea of what I've been getting up to at the trust so far and what I've enjoyed the most. So this just shows some of the work we've been doing this year on the River Larrig. So it's a really amazing and changeable river, but unfortunately there's no trees in the glen. So the river's really susceptible to climate change. It's heating up massively in the summer, which has a really negative effect on migratory salmon and other salmonid species as well. So we've done tree planting next to the banks of the river. These are just kind of half completed pods. So these are fenced off pods that protect the trees from sheep and deer. And the structures you can see in the riverbank on the left of the river are kind of large woody debris structures. So these are to provide cover for fish and also to kind of create a bit of variety in the river, different flow types and that kind of thing. That's just another example of another section of the Larrig that we worked on this year. So this was all working with a digger driver on site and coordinating the kind of the large scale works. So it's been really, really interesting, and it's totally transformed this wee section of river here from something that was quite mono in its flow types and everything. Wasn't much variety, and now it's totally changed. There's a lot more cover for fish. And it's just really great to see the changes that we've made. I've just got a wee video here just kind of showing how large woody debris works, the kind of its purpose. So you can kind of see the water flowing off over the top of that. And what that's doing is it's going down into the riverbed below and it's kind of scouring it out to create a pool. So that's really what we're trying to do. We're just trying to create a variety of different kind of habitats for fish. Deep pools are great because the fish can get under and they can get out the kind of the intense sunlight in peak summer, and it just basically helps to maintain the numbers, maintain kind of spawning, maintains fish spawning habitat, and just generally improve the rivers. You can see from the background of that photo there are really no trees anywhere, so they need everything, all the help they can get. This is just a before photo of some other stuff we've been working on down the Larrig, and this is the after photo. So it's quite a dramatic change from a bank that was being undercut to this totally protected bank that we now have, and going on to the next one, also with the pods. So once this is all complete, there will be trees lining the riverbank. The bank's nice and reprofiled, and this coir matting that you can see on the riverbank has all been seeded. So the grass seed will come through and the bank's been totally transformed for the benefit of the river and for the fish. I also do electrofishing as well. So electrofishing is a really important aspect of our jobs in terms of monitoring fish numbers and just seeing how fish populations, any trends, whether it be that increasing or decreasing trends. So basically, my colleague on the right, he's using the anode. So it sends out a kind of short electric current, which attracts the fish to the anode. And then my colleague on the left would then come in with the banner net and scoop them up. And then I'm in the middle with the hand net. So I'm just collecting any fish that she gets with the banner and then put them in the bucket. So these fish will all be processed, they'll be identified, they'll be measured as well. So then that just kind of, it's some of our work is baseline, so we're surveying on rivers that we've never surveyed before, and then some of it's looking to monitor trends and things like that. So in terms of key skills for the fisheries management sector, these skills aren't things that you necessarily require to get into a job. I didn't have all of these skills when I first started, and a lot of the times different employers will put you through these skills and they'll support you in learning these skills. But they're just really good things to have, not even just for the fisheries management sector. A lot of it's industry wide, just the conservation industry as a whole. So your practical stuff is all really good: chainsaw, brush cutter, pesticide. I was lucky enough to get them in my previous role, but they've been really useful so far. General habitat management skills. So I had kind of woodland and peatland kind of management skills from my volunteering that I did, and only a brief bit of river restoration works. But it all kind of it's all applicable to. Although there's a bit of a specialisation with rivers, obviously, it's all the skills are applicable to the wider industry. ID skills, obviously, with a focus on freshwater aquatic species. Just general surveying skills. I think if you have the kind of the mindset of surveying and just kind of like, you know, recording detail kind of meticulously, I think you can pick up the kind of the more specific fisheries management and freshwater conservation surveying skills. You should be able to pick that up quite quickly. Electrofishing and fish handling is really good as well. That's something you'll learn. And then GIS, which is really industry wide at the moment. It's become quite important. So I think any information you can learn and skills you can learn about GIS sooner, the better. People skills is really important. There's a lot of kind of public outreach and things like that. So it's really important to be able to show the public what you're getting up to, get them on board, and that's really good for attracting volunteers and things like that as well. And then just a general understanding of rivers and fish is great for getting into the industry. And as I've kind of said already, relevant qualifications are great, but not necessarily a degree. I don't have a degree, and I was able to get into this position, and I've been able to keep progressing so far without any difficulties. I may look into getting a degree in future, but so far it's not restricted me in what I've been wanting to do. Why and how to get involved. So really, it's fun. I massively enjoy my job. I find it really rewarding. It's a good balance of working outdoors, but then also doing some more technical stuff, you know, GIS and report writing and planning and all these kind of skills that are really important. No 2 days are the same, which is really great for me. I'm more of a physical worker, and that's just what I enjoy. So that's really worked great with me. Meeting, working alongside great people, so you meet a great bunch of volunteers, working with different organisations. We do a lot of stuff for the national park. It's just you're making friendships with these volunteers that you're working with over time, and it's really, really good. And there's a real sense of achievement and supporting the environment. You know, these large scale works that we're doing in the on the Larrig, it's just feels amazing to be involved in these projects, and I can't wait to see in 10 years time when all these trees have grown what kind of changes we're going to will have made to that environment. And in terms of getting involved, you really specific volunteering, I would say contact your local Rivers Trust or Salmon Fishery Board, and they'll be able to point you towards specific volunteering opportunities and practical experience.